Welcome to the Dallas Sports Dude podcast. Today we've got This Week in Dallas Area Sports, a stat you can impress people with at parties, and a sports opinion you didn't know you needed. Let's go. Now for This Week in
Dallas Area Sports.
The Texas Rangers finished their season as defending World Series champions by not making the playoffs and finishing third in the AL West at 78-84. It really just seemed like they could never get going. The team was decimated by injuries throughout the season. However, Bruce Bochy never wins back-to-back titles. It's always every other year, and the Rangers have a very young and talented team still, so there are still reasons to get excited and hope that next year they can contend. The Cowboys beat the New York Giants last Thursday night 20-15 in a game that was very sloppy for both teams. In that game, Dallas lost both DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons to lower body injuries. Micah seems to have a high ankle sprain, and the Cowboys hope they can get him back in a few weeks after their bye. DeMarcus Lawrence, on the other hand, reportedly has a Liz Frank injury in his foot. Dallas expects him to be out 4 to 8 weeks. The Stars have played 5 preseason games so far as they ramp things up. At the time of this recording, they are 5-0 in the preseason with 1 game left against the St. Louis Blues. Then they'll have a week off before the regular season begins on Thursday, October 10th in Nashville against the Predators. The Dallas Mavericks had their media day on Monday and have started their training camp in Vegas. Their first preseason game is Monday, October 7th at home against the Memphis Grizzlies. Overall, over the last 7 days, the Rangers went 4-2, the Cowboys beat New York, and the Stars have gone 3-0, albeit in the preseason. So combined, Dallas area teams have a record of 8-2 over the last week. All right, everybody. Things are looking up. And that's going to do it for This Week in Dallas Area Sports. All right, and now for this week's stat that you can use to impress people with at parties. It's not a Dallas area stat this week, but it's extremely interesting nonetheless, and one that's not talked about nearly enough. Cal Ripken is baseball's Iron Man and holds a record that will almost assuredly never be broken. He played in 2,632 consecutive games played. This streak lasted over 16 years from May 30th, 1982 to September 20th, 1998. During that time, he won 2 MVP awards, 2 Gold Gloves, had numerous All-Star Game appearances, and it included another record he set for shortstops with a streak of 95 errorless games. In order to break his consecutive game streak, a player would need to play for over 16 years without missing a game. The MLB's current active consecutive games played leader is Matt Olson with only 492. All right, and now for today's sports opinion you didn't know you needed. The Dallas Mavericks are entering the 2024-2025 NBA season with the most talented roster, at least on paper, that they've had in their entire franchise history. In fact, I personally don't even think there's a team that can come close to this one in terms of overall talent, experience, fit, and firepower. The key departures for the Mavericks this offseason were Tim Hardaway Jr., Derrick Jones Jr., and Josh Green. The Mavs replaced those guys with Klay Thompson, Quentin Grimes, Najee Marshall, and Spencer Dinwiddie. Some people have argued that the Mavs got worse defensively because Derrick Jones Jr. signed with the Clippers and he was the Mavs' point of attack defender for much of the season and especially in the playoffs last year. I know defensive rating isn't the end-all be-all stat for defense. A lot goes into what makes a player good or a great defender. Sometimes it's hard to quantify with numbers. With that being said, the ratings for last season defensively for those guys, Derrick Jones Jr. had a defensive rating of 112.8 and Josh Green had a rating of 118.8. Last season for New Orleans, Najee Marshall had a defensive rating of 106.8, lower is better by the way. And then with the Knicks and Pistons last season, Quentin Grimes had a defensive rating of 109.1, and for what it's worth, Klay Thompson had a rating of 116.1. So in my opinion, it actually looks as though the Mavericks got better defensively from a talent/potential standpoint. On the offensive side of the ball is where things can get really fun, talking specifically about open three-pointers. We all know that Luka and the Mavs create open three-point shots at a very high rate. One issue that popped up at various times, especially in the NBA Finals, was the Mavericks simply missing open three-point shots. Last season, the Mavericks shot 35.5% on open three-point shot attempts. Tim Hardaway Jr. in particular shot a horrendous 31.7% on open threes. By comparison, last season, Najee Marshall shot 38.7% and Quentin Grimes shot 37.1% on open three-point attempts. The Mavs also really needed a third ball handler, so they went out and brought back Spencer Dinwiddie to potentially be that guy. They also have Jaden Hardy, who's been patiently waiting in the wings for an opportunity, and Coach Jason Kidd actually referenced that in his media day press conference on Monday. Hardy may be ready for that third ball handler role, or it may go to Spencer Dinwiddie, or maybe they share the floor together. Either way, the Mavs addressed two of their biggest weaknesses in the offseason, getting better shooters around Luka and finding a third ball handler. And let's also not forget that as good as Dereck Lively was in his rookie season, he was just a rookie. Theoretically, last season should be the worst version of Dereck Lively that we see. He also mentioned on Media Day that he will be shooting open threes this season if he's open. If he can make 1 or 2 threes a game, that will not only do incredible things for his personal game, but for the Mavs' spacing overall on offense. Yes, the West is a very tough conference, and some could say a lot of teams got better. However, the Mavericks won the West last season, and in my opinion, not only have the best roster on paper that they've ever had, but I think they actually improved their team more than any other team did in the West this season. Adding Marshall, Grimes, Dinwiddie, and Klay Thompson to this group, while also expecting Jaden Hardy and Dereck Lively to continue to improve as they grow, the Dallas Mavericks are serious contenders this season. That's going to do it for today. We will be doing, normally on Wednesdays, we will be doing film sessions for the Cowboy games, but since they played last Thursday, the schedule kind of got off. Please remember to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.